bit emotional today, isn't it? I'm feeling emotional. I've got a quote: some people come into our lives and leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never the same. Oh. Thank you, Di. I've made a friend for life, I'm sure. Even though I won't see her now. So I've got topics that are about Di. So instead of me picking you, I'd like to read the topic, and if you think you can answer that, please put your hand up. If nobody puts their hand up, I'll pick somebody.
How long are the topics?
How long are the topics?
How many have you got, Ruth?
6.
Yeah, do 90 seconds. Thank you.
Bit informal today. I'll roll with that. So the first thing is, I have learnt something from Di that has changed how I think. Anybody? Judith. Nobody. Oh, sorry. Fran. Sorry. Fran. I've learned something from Di that's changed how I think. Thank you.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Di has always been around. She's been an amazing example, not only as a woman and a female, but as a leader and also a member. It's amazing what Di has demonstrated to all of us in her Toastmasters life. Now, I don't know Di very well outside Toastmasters, which is a little bit sad, isn't it? But I've seen in Di the things I would like to be able to do myself. I guess I've stretched the leadership thing a fair bit. I'm not really very good at that. I've just decided I'm going to go back to being a member in the next Toastmasters year and just be a supporter and a coach and a mentor. But Di has shown, I sort of thought, wow, Di can do that, maybe I can too. Because Di's always been around in Toastmasters as long as I have. So I think that, Di has been an amazing example for all of us. Not only as a Toastmaster, but as a woman and a friend.
Thank you, Fran. As actions speak louder than words, how have Di's actions spoken to you? Come on, somebody. Nobody's going to hand up. Colin.
One of the things they taught us about topics is you don't always have to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to speak about words, but saying more than actions. As I said, I first met Di in 1981 when she was the area governor. You saw that up there in 1981. I was her district governor. And I actually got married during my term as district governor. And we came back from my honeymoon, and then my wife and I did this travelling tour of all the Toastmasters clubs. We started Darwin, came all the way down the coast. Mike Coleman, who you won't remember, drove us to Mackay, and there we met the lovely Di. But the next stop was Rockhampton. Now you all know how long it takes to get from Mackay to Rockhampton, don't you? At least 4 hours, probably 5 hours in those days, and here I was, a captive audience with Di Riddell driving. I don't need to say more, do I?
Thank you, Colin. We all know that it's all about me, so how will I cope with Di not being here? John. Yeah, no, I didn't get enough people.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, guests, I stuffed that button at the start because I'm feeling very choked up, Di, actually. How will I get on without Di here? I'll probably get on the way I am. To be perfectly honest, Di has been my mentor and my friend. Now, as a mentor, I've let her down. because I'd go there and say, can you help me with my talk? And she'd go, yeah, sure, you should do this, you should do that. And I'd go away thinking, I'm not going to do that. And Di always says, can't be, said, you never did what I did. I told you to do. And I said, I know, Di. Why, I don't know, but I've just got this thing in my head that I can't listen to advice. And I'm scared of you. You're frightening. Di doesn't believe that, but I used to get really worried that she was going to pick me up after I'd given her speech and tell me what I'd done wrong. But what am I going to miss about her? I'm going to miss her friendship. I'm going to miss her smile. I'm going to miss those little moments when the club's running off the rails and she goes, Mr. Chairman, we can discuss that later. That's not in the mood. And that's what she does. And she does it so well. I've never, even though I'm scared of her, I've never lost any sleep over her. Except one time when, I'd love to tell the story of the vacuum cleaner, but thank you all.
So the story of the vacuum cleaner is because I send emails out asking people to send me good stories to do a would I lie to you? And now your punishment is this. So our next topic is, how has Di's sense of humour helped to deliver some serious messages in her speeches? Bernice. You know about sense of humour.
No, I don't. I'll kill you later. Well, good morning, everyone. Di's sense of humour, when she gets up in here and speaks so affluently, just comes out. And normally it's in a glass of wine, or 3 or 5. She's mentioned quite a few times over the time I've been here how much the grape is good for you and helps you unwind and speak well. There's always a point in Di's speeches that there's a message that she relays, and it's always done in such a nice way. Sometimes, actually, it's not always the nicest of ways, but it's always very direct. And I mean, if you miss her point, you're pretty damn thick. And it's been such a joy learning from you, because I came here with an absolute phobia for speaking in front of people, and over time and with great mentors have developed an ability to at least say something reasonable. So thank you, Di. Good luck.
What was a memorable Di moment for you, David?
Madam Chairman, fellow Toastmasters, or not a fellow Toastmaster, I guess. Memorable moments. I think that Di should have been an Olympian, really, because she always liked to dangle the carrot out the front, and she always raised the bar really high, and she managed to get people to come along. So in my situation, she inspired me to go for president of Nambour Toastmasters, and then I went to area governor, and then I went to division governor. We formed this club out of that, and she was always there in the background. But the way Di managed to do this was, she had to have a little bit of bling somewhere up there that would be there for her to aim at. And you know, there was no bar that was too high if you put a nice big block of ice in a glass of wine. Di would scramble and crawl to wherever she could get to, and she would just drag everyone along with her. And as John alluded to, everyone lived in total fear. Even more fear than getting up and speaking. Di would have to be there, but she just provided all that motivation. So I just think that was what she did as a memorable moment, and there's probably lots of other ones that are better to remain unsaid.
Thank you, David. Finally, as Di goes along the next path in her life, what would you like to say to her? Judith?
What can I say? I'm sure she's still going to be here. We're still going to see her. It's not as if she's passing away or anything. Like, hello, don't be so sad. I'm sure we will still see that lovely smiling face, and if we do anything wrong, you're going to know about it, I'm sure, Diane, because she's always there.
Thank you, all my speakers. That ends my time. Back to you, Madam Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, 4 hours in the car with Di Riddell. My goodness. I think she learned a lot that day. I think I learned a lot to my own benefit about this wonderful person who just joined the district executive. And ever since then we formed a really good friendship. I get a bit emotional about this because we have a special bond, and that's brought us even closer together as friends. And I've always had this great admiration for Di as an administrator, but more recently, many years as a person, as a close personal friend. And it's always been a point when we get together once a year at annual convention, even though convention is a very, very busy time, we make a point of finding 10 minutes just to be with each other, catch up. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Colin. Please welcome to you guys.
Thank you, Pat. Ladies and gentlemen, Di, thank you for the opportunity to share a few of my memories and experiences with Di. When I take myself back all the way to 2008, somewhere in April, May, when it was the very first time when my father-in-law took me to Toastmasters, which was back in the Sands Tavern in Riddell. My very first memory of that is getting out of the car. It was a beautiful sunny morning, very early, bright and early. I was so nervous, just about as I am right now. And the first person I remember seeing was Di, this really tall lady with a very strong appearance. I just saw it immediately. And it was right from the start. Di for me was an example and an idol of what a calm, collected speaker should look like. She has always set the example for me how to be a calm and collected speaker. And one thing that I just like to point out that I learned from Di was the eye contact and just turning to the room and speaking to the people in the room. I really enjoy doing now because I wasn't able to do it before. Di not only showed me what it is to be a great speaker, she also set a great example what it means to be a great member of the Toastmasters organization. And she was my mentor. And I have done a few things in the organization back in the years. And as I said before in my warm-up, all of those have had Di behind it or behind me. She was scary, I agree, and I concur with those sentiments. She was always for me that figure as like my mum or as all the teachers that have moved me forward. I've always felt it from the beginning, and that's what it was. Just this towering figure that I didn't want to disappoint. And she was the one that always was behind me saying, you should go and do that, you should try to do that, you should try to do that. And I knew, and this was the most important thing for me, that if I go and do that, she will be behind me and she will have my back and she will be the support that I needed to succeed in those roles. So thank you very much for that, Di. I was trying to think of something funny, some funny situation, something when Di dropped her guard, when she did something silly. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. I tried really hard. I think the only fault she has is that ice in the wine. As a former bartender, I just cannot accept that. That's all. And all the best to you, Di. You mean everything that Toastmasters represents for me, and I'm about to move away. I'm going to change my life. I'm going back to Europe. When I'm going to think back to my life in Australia, and I'm going to think back to Toastmasters, Di's face will be the picture of Toastmasters I will have. Thank you, Di, and all the best in your future life. Thank you.
And there seems to be a common theme going on about the scary nature of Di, which I can attest to. So, I don't know whether you have a scary story in camp, but maybe you'd like to stand up to say a few words as well.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Di never scared me. I must admit now, she never scared me. She terrified me. She absolutely terrified me. Now, I was trying to think back, as I said earlier, when I first met Di, and I couldn't remember, but looking at the slides, it brings back so many happy memories of years I've known Di. You know, this convention and that convention, Di's always seemed to be there. There's one thing I've always wondered or wanted to do is actually go and have a look in her wardrobe. Because every time I saw her, she had this another amazing outfit. She always looked elegant. And I thought, where does she get her clothes from? I'd like to go there and just have a look at what she has. There was always something new, something stunning, always elegant. And she was always there with a nice smile and a nice big hug. You always knew that every time you saw Di, you'd get a beautiful hug. And I'd like to thank Di just for the hugs. Not any information she told me, because she's always telling me do this or do that. Like John, I never listened, I just went my own way. But I always kept it at the back of my mind. Di, I wish you all the best. You're an amazing woman, and I'm sure we'll keep bumping into each other around the district. All the best.
Thank you, Ian. And now we have a special treat from Tracy, our Area 22 Director, who's going to do a roast on Di. So it might be true and it might not be true, just to say. Thank you, Tracy.
Madam Toastmaster, Toastmasters and guests, the objective of the roast is to poke fun at a particular individual in a good-natured way. I can only assume that I was invited to roast today's particular individual, Di Riddell, because I'm known for my good nature and ability to poke fun. The first time I laid eyes on Di Riddell was over 15 years ago at District Convention in Toowoomba. She was Toastmaster royalty, and I was a first-timer. She was known by everyone, and I was a nobody. She was poised, classy, and knew how to quieten a room with a single shh. Aimed very directly at my table. Probably because of Lorraine and Guido.
Yeah.
But despite being worlds apart, a flicker of a friendship sparked that weekend, and I found myself regularly lining up for one of Di's famous hugs, as I too became a conference junkie and one of Di Riddell's biggest fans. "You look beautiful, Di," was always met with, "Ooh, you'll go places." She was probably hoping out the door. And I was always charmed by her elegance, grace, and exemplary fashion sense. I don't think anyone could ever say Di Riddell has ever just thrown an outfit on, because everything always matches from head to toe. I've followed her hair and glasses journey on Facebook. And although still blonde, she has traded her bouffant locks for a sleek, layered look and thicker frames for thinner ones. I've always thought of Di like a fine wine, getting better with age. And if this wasn't a breakfast meeting, I'd drink to that. With ice in my glass. Di's very colourful clothes suggest she loves colour. So imagine my surprise when I found that she was painting the ceiling beige. More like she was painting the town red. I also heard that as a young nurse, she always carried a supply of red biros, just in case she had to draw blood. Di has recently combined two of her loves, Pete and travel. They like to do all sorts of trips together, and this means lots of driving. We all know Di to be a multitasker, so while Pete was having a nap in the passenger seat, Di took over the wheel while continuing to do some knitting. As her knit 2, purl 1 gained momentum, so did the speed of the car, attracting the attention of a nearby policeman. Completely focused on her two tasks, Di was oblivious to the flashing lights and siren, so the policeman rolled down his window and screamed, "Pull over!" To which Di yelled back, "No, it's a scarf." Di likes to shop and can be obsessive when it comes to getting what she wants. While holidaying up north, Di set her heart on a pair of crocodile shoes, one morning, Pete discovered Di beside a pile of dead crocodiles, which she had caught with her bare hands. She met Pete's curious gaze, threw her hands in the air and screamed in dismay, "That's the 6th one I've caught and it's not wearing shoes either." I like to shop too, and recently we did a little online shopping together. Unfortunately, the women in Di's new neighbourhood hadn't done their washing, so we left empty-handed. Bad blonde jokes aside, Googling Di Riddell brings a plethora of tags. Survivor, confidence coach, author, MC. She gains inspiration from Louise Hay, is passionate about Toastmasters, and has made it her business to help women over 50 find their voice. Her latest loves, Pete and travel, have taken her away from the Sunshine Coast, but I'm sure that the lifelong friends she's made and her expertise as a communicator and with social media mean that we will continue to follow the hairstyles, the glasses, the fashion, the travel, the blogs, and the very colourful story of the most fabulous Di Riddell. And although everyone here is feeling a little blue to see you go, we won't say goodbye, we'll just say, "See you in a while, crocodile," if there's any left.
Thank you, Tracy. That was so entertaining. That was just lovely. I think it's all put us in a very good mood to listen to Di's speech. I don't know whether she's ready to do it yet. Would you like some time, Di?
No, I'm fine.
You're right? Okay. On with the show.
Mine's selected.
Di Riddell.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My goodness, I'm a bit choked up. What is there left to say? They've all said it for me. Pete said to me yesterday, what are you going to talk about? I said, well, we've been so busy painting, I haven't had time to think about it. But I came up with a thought, and I think it sums up everything that's happened this morning. And I'd like to call it the Spirit of Toastmasters. We come into this organisation to normally improve our ability to communicate, for confidence, to be able to run a meeting, to speak at some function. We come for a reason. It's after you join, after you gain those basic skills, that you start to understand the depth of friendship that come from being involved in a group like this.
I look back over my 40 years and I think about the depth of friendships that have been formed over those years. Yes, some of them have gone now, some of them have gone off to the heavenly fields. That's a bit of a trick, isn't it? But those friendships really deepen and they really mean something. I could look at everyone in this room and say exactly the same thing, and you probably said it for me with Lubo. What a pleasure it's been to see his growth. I can remember him as that nervous young man. We've got a few members in the club, Lubo, Ruth and Kay, who've gone through Speechcraft. And we found that the members that joined us after Speechcraft, they went on into leadership roles. And I think it was that background, just that bit of a heave and a start that got them going. And isn't that a pleasure to think that that's what can happen? So now Robert Smedley, when he started our organisation in 1924, I wonder if he's looking down on us today, thinking about the spirit that he left behind. Because I think that sums up everything here. I don't know of any other organisation where you're going to get that depth. And I think it comes about because of our speeches. We have people from every race, we have people from every profession, we have people of every age join the organisation. So there's that depth and width of experience. And as we get up and share our speeches, they're personal. The first one sets the scene because you're introducing yourself. But as we give our speeches, we share parts of our lives. It's the good times, the sad times, the happy times. And as you do that, that level of friendship and trust, I think it's trust and respect that come with it. That trust and respect builds within the group and you feel so comfortable. I look at David, and David, he went off to a Telstra function, and my understanding is that the presenters weren't all that wonderful. So he put that on his feedback form. Next thing he was having a meeting with them. Next thing we were having a speechcraft course, and then next thing it was Inside Edge. So it's not just about coming to a meeting and learning to deliver a speech. It's the depth and the breadth. And many of us, when we join for communication skills. But what do we get? The leadership skills become revealed. Now, I actually met Diane Weidner. She was our first female district governor last week, and I'm too busy with painting and I forgot. I don't know what the leaders of the day, including Colin McFarlane, saw in me at the time that I was a club president to encourage me into further leadership. Because I'm damned if I can see what would have been there at that time. I didn't think I had it in me. But we can see things in other people that we don't see in ourselves. Colin, can I ask you, what did you see in me at that time when I had absolutely no leadership skills, whatever?
That's a good question.
What a magnificent answer.
Potential.
The international speech contest winner a couple of years ago, he had that speech, you could see something in you, but I don't know what it was.
He's not going to answer the question. And it was around now, if Ralph Smedley had one fault, of course, it was the fact that he forgot about women. It was all about men. Oh, what a cheat. But that philosophy that he had about bringing businessmen together to improve their ability to communicate, and there's something in his original book about camaraderie or fellowship, and my copy of that book is in storage, so I couldn't access it. But it is that camaraderie and the friendship that builds. So he had a lot of foresight in his beginnings. And I just think it's incredible that something can survive for this length of time. And the organisation has grown and it's changed with the needs of the community. And we're seeing the big change now with the education system into pathways. But back in the mid-80s when I was district governor the first time, Diane Wiedner, as I just mentioned, she was our first district governor, female district governor. And she was my idol. I looked up to her. In 85, 86, when I was DG, was when we had our first female international president, Helen Blanchard. There's a photo of her with me there somewhere before. So that was a real first for the organisation. So women were a bit slower coming into the leadership roles. That's probably because we didn't say because you know, after they introduced women, some of those men's clubs said, well, we're not having women in our club. And that was fine, and I don't think there was anything wrong with that. Because while I was a district leader, when I went to an all-male club, I was always treated with the utmost respect for the office and made very welcome. I just simply didn't want women as members because that's how the club was. And I think that we get that, then you get that level of acceptance about another person, another club. We can all be different, but we've still got that ideal of communication, leadership and friendship. So there isn't a person in this room that I can't say thank you to for support for me. Tracy for her wonderful sense of humour. I can remember, I came off the steps in 2002 after the district convention and you and Lorraine and Guido were at the bottom of the steps and I almost fell into somebody's arms. I can't, one of you two, probably who it was. Lorraine, for her being a stalwart here in Area 22, she's always been there, always been a force to be reckoned with. Ian, well, I remember Ian as being in Kawana and had his hair and then he used to take all the girls around and then and Sue was such a quiet lady and what a pleasure it is to see her come up through leadership roles and this year to be the division director of the year. Such a worthy award for you. Pat and John, well, you know, that started with Toastmasters and the next minute they had me under their arm taking me out cleaning with them. So I went commercial cleaning with them for a while, for 7 or 8 years or something. And what a journey that was. That was amazing. But a very deep friendship has developed through that. Fran and John were at Charters Towers. I can remember going out there when I was district governor at some stage. Muriel, I think, was in Brisbane when I first met you.
I don't remember.
I can't remember where it was, but Muriel is has been a stalwart. That's why! That's very problem. Judith, again, like Lorraine, has always been a stalwart here in Area 22. Someone who's always there, always dependable, and I'd just love to see the growth through you. Pete, well, I'm going to say that Pete. Well, maybe he only joined us a meeting. He came along, his first dinner was when Simon Robb put on the Women in Toastmasters for 40 years. So he came to a couple of meetings and Pete wanted to say something, so he had to join. And he had a year as his club president last year and he really enjoyed it, he loves it. Mr. Barland. Colin was my district governor when I first became that area governor. And almost every week on the week I'd be on the plaque, Colin, I've got a problem. And it'd be yak. On the 1st of July the following year, I rang Colin. And it was almost like, oh God, here she is again. Colin, I haven't got a problem. But that friendship has grown. Each of us have lost a partner. And, you know, we've had a level of support there that's developed and grown our friendship. Tanya, I don't know Tanya really well, but she's always got a great sense of humour. She's been an amazing woman and I've known her for a lot of years through Toastmaster functions. And I love her tenacity, but it's just your sense of humour that really gets to me. Lou's a newer member, but isn't she an amazing woman? And I'd love to see her journey so far. Kay, I was impressed to see go through Speechcraft and then come into a club executive role. Bruce is a newer member and it's great this year for him to come up and to be the Sergeant at Arms because I think that's the starting point where you're up here and it develops your confidence no end and I can see the change in you even since the beginning of the year. David we've just mentioned. It's been a real journey and David was an amazing support to me after Les passed away in 2002, my computer skills were zilch. Z-I-L-C-H. 0. So not only did I put my son through hell, but I sort of put David through hell, and he helped me and supported me in so many ways. Nick, I first got to know when he went through the youth leadership program at school, and it's been wonderful to see his journey and to develop into the young man that he is today. It's a pleasure to have you here. Lubo. And the top Ruth. Ruth has become a very close friend. She's a lovely lady. She came through Speechcraft as well and came on to the club executive. And to see Ruth change and go into the business that she started and developed and created, boy, she's a force to be reckoned with. Pat, you lucky thing, I've linked you in with John. Oh, Pat, I'm going to kiss her feet. Not only was she at my place those 5 days I had to pack up my house along with Pete, but she's down there with me at the moment painting. We've been crawling on the floor, we've been climbing ladders, we've been and it goes on. That's what she said she'll see me tomorrow. Amanda, I'd love to see the growth in Amanda since she took on the role of president. Her work takes her away a bit, but it's still, I love her speeches, just love them. And Bernice, your journey and watching you develop the confidence that you've gained. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the spirit of Toastmasters. Every day we have the choice to spin a little silk and let it grease everything we touch. Let your special things grease everything you touch today.
I've been in Toastmasters watching Di go through what she's been through over the years, and her resilience and her motivation and her energy leaves me for dead. She's just a tornado to be reckoned with, and I think she's met her match with Pete, who's also a bit of a tornado himself. So we wish you the very best down in the Redcliffe Peninsula, Di. It's been, but we won't lose sight of you. Di's promised, and it's been written in blood, that she's going to that she's going to come back from time to time and visit us. So that will be lovely. So to wrap up the meeting, there's a few people I haven't yet asked to speak. So I'd like Sue to maybe say a few words. Thank you, Sue.
Fellow Toastmasters. I met Di 20 years ago when I joined Toastmasters, and she was, as Tracy said, Toastmasters royalty. She was everything I wanted to be. Confident, tall, slim. She was just it. I've always aspired to be like Di. I'll never reach her level, I don't think, but she's always been friendly, and at that time I thought she wasn't approachable because she was so important and I was so unimportant, but I soon found, I got to know her through Ian, and I soon found she's very approachable and she is a good friend, and she's just like, she came and sat down beside me before just to have a little chat. She's like that whenever you see her, and I think Lubo summed it up when he said she has your back, you know, she has your back because she did that for me at one time. And she used to come around and sit at my place. And yes, we had a few wines with ice. And I know she's there. She's got my back whenever I want her, and she's got everybody's back, and I love you.
Thank you, Sue. Lorraine, would you like to say a few words? Please welcome Lorraine.
Thank you, Pat. Well, apart from Di's style, and I was just so in awe of her craft. She wore, I reminded her a moment ago, up at Nambour many years ago at a training when we used to cater for our own training. She came in this magnificent, I'm not sure whether it was a cape or a shawl or a jacket or, yeah, well anyway it was a jacket. And she had made it herself. And it was all, you had no idea what it was like. It was the most amazing thing. And I thought, she couldn't have made it herself because I can sew a button on, I can sew a button and take a hem up. But I will tell you about the time when Di's dress sense let her down. Right, Di actually once wore the wrong dress for the wrong occasion. And a lot of you will remember it here because it was here. There was a photo back there of her in this black and white spotted dress with a granny sort of thing around the bottom. Now there was a reason for that, because we were out on the balcony. Was it your 35th? Yeah, it was. So there were so many of us, we were out on the balcony. And funny enough, it was a slightly windy morning. And Di had this beautiful dress on. Well, you've seen Marilyn Monroe in the 70s. I can tell you, Di wears fancy knickers.
Yes, that's a sight that's indelibly printed on our minds. Muriel, you haven't said much today. Even though you said you can't remember, there must be something you can. Please welcome Muriel.
Fellow Chairman, fellow members, I was sitting here thinking while Di was talking, and I thought of Laurie, my late husband. We did district supplies for 3.5 years. And in the upheaval of Bruce George disappearing off the scene, Barbara Richardson was the district governor. Di came in as the district governor, and Barbara dropped back to being the, what was the second one again? Yeah. So with supplies, Laurie and I had a lot to do with Di in that period of time. We got to know what went on the district level. We were more involved than we had been. Les came down to do something to our computer and he wrecked it, unfortunately. But he managed to get it to transfer over to the system that they required for whatever we had to do with America. But Laurie looked after everything with supplies and I took care of all the mailing out. But Di and Laurie were very involved in that period of time. And it gave him something to do in his retirement too, so I thank you for that.
Thank you, Muriel. Now I'd like to hear from some of our own Inside Edge members who've been strangely quiet. So Nick, I will ask you first to please say a few words of goodbye to Di. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Yes, well, like I said in my warm-up earlier, I met Di because Dad had known her obviously for a long time, so I'd known Di beforehand, but first Toastmasters experience was in grade 10 in the youth leadership course, and I hated public speaking. You know, anytime I had to do a speech, it was just dreaded. So Dad was like, all right, you doing youth leadership? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Doing youth leadership, and then as soon as I turned 18, he's like, you're doing Inside Edge? I just got through the youth leadership. Anyway, so I've been pushed into this, and I've grown a lot. I've enjoyed it, but I'll always remember Di whenever she's making a point. Now, no one's mentioned this today, and I'm very surprised, but you've got to get the point across, and that's how I learnt from Di. It was a little Amy Peck thing. And it's like the trademark of Di's public speaking. When she's making a point, it's serious business. You've got to listen. And when she's doing that, you listen and you learn. And so that's, I always remember what Di's taught me, and I've come a long way, and she's been a mentor for me. And then she passed me up to John, and then it sort of went downhill. I don't think we achieved much, John and I, but it was fun along the way. But no, thanks, Di. We're going to miss you. I'm going to miss the organisation skills here at the club because, we just ramble on sometimes. Di's always getting us back onto the point, and I think now that Di's on the executive, we're going to have some serious business to try and pull everyone back in line and keep us on track and get the club actually running properly. Because I think without Di, there's not really that much organisation or abilities around, so I'm sure we'll get there. Thanks for your contribution, Di, and I'm sure I'll see you around anyway. So.
words? If you can't get up, you can do it from your chair.
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters, members of the guests. My first recollection of Di was the first time I actually walked into the place. She was the first person that came up to me and spoke to me, welcomed me to the club, got me to sign visitors with all the procedure and all that sort of thing. So I thank you, Di, for that, because it made me feel welcome and made me, because I came and I went and came back again. But that first experience made me think, well, this is a friendly place, somewhere to go back to. So thank you for that. And I've hung around for a year now, so we'll see how we go going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Kay, would you like to say something? All right, please welcome Kay.
Same thing, Di, when I met Di, she was very scary. I decided I'd join, and then I'd just sit in the back, it'd all just soak in, I'd learn something, but she never ever let me do that. And when I heard Di was leaving, I thought, wow, what are we going to do without Di? But then I've been thinking about it, and I thought, yep, no, she's just continuing on with that. Everyone else is going to have to step up now. I'm not quite sure how. But we'll miss you, definitely. And thank you very much for everything. You pushed me along, and I've needed it, and it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Lou, would you like to say something? Thank you. Welcome, Kay.
Well, what are we going to do without her? She has trained us all very well, I have to say. We have some great people at the top now who will have to keep time, will have to keep us all in line. So, to the mentor, to all of us, thank you very much.
Yes, Tanya would like to say something too. Thank you.
Very brief, but I'm going to say, watch out, Redcliffe. There she comes.
Yes, I concur. Bernice, would you like to say something? Sorry? In our club first. Excuse me, who's chairing this meeting?
So Toastmasters members and guests, I have to thank Di for this one thing in particular, a little bit of encouragement to do the job that Bruce is now doing, the Sergeant at Arms. That was the first step to really becoming a lot more confident with my public speaking, and I mean we are a very comfortable club, but yeah, that was the push, the shove that I needed, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Bernice. Peter, now you can get out.
Yes, Di. Well, this is supposed to be a blue meeting, but she actually blew into my life. I don't know, for all those who don't know, but we met on the net. Yes. I hear a few oohs. She came from Nambour. I wasn't to know what to expect. Was she going to ride in on a horse? I had to get it in. But no, we met down at Redcliffe. And this lady come in very straight and upright, you know, walks very like this. Bling, bling, bling on the glasses. Bling. And I'm thinking, no. Definitely no country girl here. But But I found in the couple of hours we spoke, of course, she spoke, I should say, but there was a depth that the bling might have been on the outside, but on the inside there was a depth of conversation, care and love. And we shared the things that had happened within our life. And there was such a close association that way. We even decided to meet again. However, the bondship became more and more and closer, until one day I thought, I'll push it to the limit. How about we go camping? Well, the shock come across her. Like, camping? That's foreign to me. What are we going to go in a cabin like? No. The camper trailer? No. Only a weekend. I've got a 2-man tent. Di rolls up with a low-cut dress. Well, you need to do this, hammering the pegs and everything around the tent. This should be good. Low-cut dress. Hammer in hand. How could I but take that photo? It didn't come up on there. So that was our initial impact. That particular evening, we were camping with a group of people, and would you believe the owner come down and said, "Will you keep the noise down?" Looking at it. But before long, our music was still going at, this was at 8 o'clock at night, and before we knew it, we were told where to go. Keep it down. Di is the other half of my life. She has taken me from one place and we've come together as a one, and her administrative skills have influenced my life because, example, my office was a mess with files everywhere, and when she says, "I cannot work in here," before I knew it she was tearing everything apart and had it in its right place like this. However, I'd just like to thank, well, first off, every one of you for being a support, and I'd just like to thank Di for being such a part of my life. Thank you, Di.
Beautifully said, Peter. So, that's virtually the end of our meeting, except for our president, who will finish off. Thank you, Amanda.
It's a bit hard to top everything that's been said this morning. And in true Di fashion, she talked about everybody else except for herself. So I'm just going to recap for what Di Riddell stands for. So D is for distinguished. So she was a distinguished Toastmaster and past district governor, as we've heard this morning, and a recipient of the Toastmaster Presidential Citation. And then I, we have for inspirational, with her stories and ideas, which we've all heard about this morning. And R for real. And as Pat said, I think she's been so sincere and genuine, and we've been so lucky to hear some of Di's personable speeches throughout our mornings. And I for imaginative and thought-provoking. So especially with her table topics responses, she showed us all how it should be done and how much she doesn't like camping. I think I had a table topics once where actually I talked about camping. It was quite funny. She was very clear in her direction that she was going with that.
Definitely.
So, and D for direct and on target. So as everyone has mentioned, timing and business meetings are ship-shape, and she doesn't mind ringing that bell. And D for dedicated, always keeping the club professional. We will miss you. E for educational, always ensure people are educated in the Toastmaster ways and processes. And L for lively and energetic with a sharp mind and the twinkle in your eye. And lastly, lovely and gentle, which makes Di the person she is with all the wonderful qualities. Thank you for all the hugs and support. So on behalf of the club and everybody here this morning, I would like to present, or I'll give you a little present. So you can have a little bag of goodies here. Oh my goodness. It will be so blue without you. There's a little sign, so you can get to enjoy that. We didn't think flowers would be appropriate given that you're in the middle of moving and painting your house. So thank you, and I also have a badge here for an outstanding member. So I don't know if you want that on your shirt. Yeah, so thank you. Everyone, like to give a big Thank you, David.
Can I just say something?
No.
Colin McFarlane is our latest recipient of a presidential citation.
Oh,
They're not given out lightly.
No, right.
And I meant to say it when I was speaking and I forgot. Colin is a very worthy recipient.
Absolutely. And there's a couple more people I want to say just a few words before we finish. So David is one of them. Please welcome back David.
Well, I can just do this in a couple of dot points. The first one is, Di's not perfect. Have we figured that out? And it's a good thing she's leaving. That's another thing, right? I'm not deflating a balloon. I had to leave Toastmasters because no one would step up. So this is all about a little bicycle journey, and we have our trainer wheels on, and we wobble and wobble, wobble. Di, she floated across my bow in probably 1985, 84, when I first joined Toastmasters at Sunshine Coast Club. And she was this royal type image persona. But you know what? She could not have been that without all of you. Because you made Di what she is today. All of you people. And that's the whole Toastmasters journey. And certainly in my journey with this club, I couldn't have become Area Government of the Year and Central Division Government of the Year and all these sorts of things without the team. So it's not really about Di. She's a product of the whole journey, and she's grabbed the system and she's created it and she's learned and she's grown. And that's what's so exciting about all of this. Di, you've been just so inspirational, and you've changed more lives than any teacher I can think of, and adult lives as such, and students as well. So thank you for everything you've done. I know she can come back, and I know her standards have slipped hugely in the last few years since I was in Toastmasters. I come along to the club and I cringe, and I thought, and even before there was some words said, and ooh, how can I say that? It's not very good. But the point is, if you don't let go and let people skin their own knees, how do they learn? You can't do it all for them. And so from my position and everyone else here, Di's been that powerhouse in the background that's just kept us all afloat, and when we capsize, she turns us up again, and we just keep going. And that personifies every single thing for every person. So, Di, thank you. I'm going to go, and we'll see you somewhere else.
Thank you, David. I believe, Tommy, you want to say a few words more.
I'm probably the most outsider. I have met and been involved with Di, but just on a slight, like you're all Northsiders, I'm a Southsider. But from what I see here today, Di does epitomise Toastmasters. And I encourage everybody, District Governor, everybody, coax and encourage other people to grow. Because I don't see that so much in Toastmasters. And from seeing what I've heard today, as I say, you epitomise and you're going to leave a legacy here. So this club is really going to grow because Di's gone, and you're going to see Di pointing at you all the time saying, Di would have done this. Hey, but eventually it'll fade as new people come. But Di has left a mark, and I have heard that today, and I think to me, that is why I'm still here. I've had my hurts and whatever in Toastmasters, but it's people like this, like people like Di, And I don't really know Di so well, but what she's done here and how she's encouraged people to grow is what allows me to keep going too. And if we don't all do it, we're not real Toastmasters. So keep up that good work that Di has left here. And, you know, I see it in my new club. They're just growing because, hey, you step down, you timekeep. I'm learning how to timekeep. It's an awful job. But encourage those other people to do jobs outside of their comfort zone. And before you know what you're doing, they do leave because they've grown. Don't sit back. Encourage, encourage, encourage. And that's what I see from what I'm here today. So thank you for allowing me to understand a little bit more about Di and get to know her a bit better. Thank you.
So thank you once again, Di. And
I'll be back.
You will be back. And thank you all for coming.
At conference, wasn't it?
Plenty.
A big thanks to Pat for today.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça. Ela, menina que vem e que passa, num doce balanço, caminho do mar. Moça do corpo dourado do sol de Ipanema, o seu balançado é mais que um poema. É a coisa mais linda que eu já vi passar. Ah, porque estou tão sozinho. Ah, porque tudo é tão triste. A beleza que existe, a beleza que não é só minha, que também passa sozinha. Ah, se ela soubesse que quando ela passa, o mundo sorrindo se enche de graça e fica mais lindo por causa do amor.
And tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes ah. When she walks, she's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gently, that when she passes, each one she passes goes ah. But he watched her so sadly. How can he tell her he loves her? Yes, he would give his heart gladly. But each day when she walks to the sea, she looks straight ahead, not at him. Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, he smiles, but she doesn't see.
Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche, voilà le portrait sans retouche de l'homme auquel j'appartiens. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, que ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, l'a juré pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens dans moi mon cœur qui bat. Des nuits d'amour à plus finir, un grand bonheur qui prend sa place, des ennuis, des chagrins s'effacent, heureux, heureux, à en mourir. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est toi pour moi, moi pour toi.